I'm a Londoner born and bred. 3 generations of my family have lived and worked alongside the Thames. And I want to show you how today it's even busier and a bigger part of our lives than ever.
Don't move! It's very difficult, to interview you while I'm counting.
How many have you got in there now?
God knows.
My journey will take me to its furthest reaches, from the Cotswolds in the west, cool, some size quarry, isn't it? To where the river meets the sea in the east.
They're all laughing over that side. Keep a straight face. I'm doing my best.
I'll meet people whose working lives depend on the Thames and who feel as passionately about it as I do.
We love our Thames. We're so lucky.
Best job in the world, Tom. Well, apart from yours, obviously.
I'll go behind the scenes of its most iconic landmarks. Oh, wow. Bang! And discover its hidden gems.
They do look sci-fi, don't they?
This is the River Thames as you've never seen it before. Hectic, hard-working, breathtaking, awe-inspiring. I can't wait. The Thames is a river of opportunity, inspiring those who dare to achieve the unthinkable. 45 miles east of central London on the north bank of the Thames Estuary is a prime example of that. A place which was massively important to me in my formative years. Southend Pier. When I was in my late teens, I bought this battered black Triumph Herald, and every sunny Saturday I'd pick up my mates and we would drive all the way down the Southend Road till we got to Southend Pier, and we'd jump out and it was like, right guys, where's the action? I'm not sure we ever found much, but we always thought we might. Southend is the capital's closest bit of seaside. It stretches over 7 miles of the Thames Estuary, and in Victorian times, Londoners fell in love with it. But they got here not down the Southend Road, but by river. My London ancestors would have got in a boat, they'd have gone down the Thames till they came to the Thames Estuary, they would have seen the pier ahead, they would have jumped off there, and in their Victorian voices would doubtless have gone, right guys, where's the action? I don't know if they found any either. But what we did find was a true spectacle. Because Southend Pier isn't any old pleasure pier, it's the longest in the world. It was built out over the Thames Estuary in 1830. Since then it's been extended and it's now 1.34 miles long. This strange and skinny structure, with roller coasters and its own railway, put Southend on the map. That pier has been the focal point of Southend for nearly 200 years. As that wonderful old crusty poet John Betjeman once said, Southend is the pier, and the pier is Southend. But maintaining the structure and popularity of this Victorian gem hasn't been easy. She's suffered numerous fires, and like other British seaside towns after the 50s, she lost millions of visitors to cheap package deals abroad. At one point, she nearly shut for good. Thanks a lot. But thankfully, that threat's gone. Staycations are now all the rage, and the pier is at the heart of an £18 million project to make Southend the #1 seaside town, not just for London, but for Britain. And in charge of the pier's ambitious makeover is Mark Murphy. What are you up to, Mark?
At the moment, Tony, we're in the middle of swapping steels over on Southend Pier.
When you say steels, you mean big steels?
We're taking some of these old ones out. Some of these have been in there for decades.
Cool, look at this one.
You can see the damage that they've actually incurred sitting out over the Thames over that time.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Today, the guys are working on the pier stem, the narrow walkway that leads to the island of attractions at the bottom. It's so narrow, the only way to get the beams there is to tow them one by one.
So we're taking this beam halfway down the pier at quite a slow pace.
It's like a funeral, this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Southend Pier was dreamt up to intercept steamships carrying holiday makers down the Thames from London to the Kent coast. To begin with, it was just 600 feet long. But to successfully steal the day trippers from London, it was extended 4 times. Why so far out, though?
We have a very long tidal reach. When the tide goes out in Southend, it goes out over a mile. Therefore, the end of the pier has to be further than deep water.
Oh, I see. It's not a gimmick. It's the fact that you've got all these mud flats and the boats can't get any nearer.
Exactly, but even when the tide is in, it's still very shallow in Southend. So you've still only got a water depth of between 4 and 6 metres.
Are we there? Because the pier is so flipping long, it takes a total of 2,000 beams to support it. And each and every one is being replaced by this team of scaffolders, joiners and steel erectors. It's great watching blokes work. How do they all know what to do? Because they all just went straight to their points.
It's been practiced many, many times. It's just repetition, really.
At each section, the lads have to build a gantry around the pier, which houses this lifting winch.
It's got a B and a U, but one's down and one's up.
We're going up now, are we?
And you lift it about.
The winch supports the joist's weight, enabling the engineers to manoeuvre it. Let's see how hard this job actually is. I know this looks easy, but it hasn't started lifting yet.
Just coming off the trailer now.
Oh, it is?
They are. It's up.
Hey! These 9-metre steel supports weigh just over a tonne. Oh, this is like doing 500 press-ups.
You're all right there.
They're all laughing over that stuff. Keep a straight face. I'm doing my best. I may be the old geezer, but I'm not giving up. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We're there! And now it's over. It's lowered again. Yeah, you do the easy one. I did the up. My biceps really hurt. Before the new beam can go in, the old one needs to come out. How many of you are going down?
Just the 2 of us, one either side. I've already pre-burnt the old bolts and put some temporary bolts in just to keep it safe for the time being.
Look at them. Straddling a knackered old beam isn't a job I'd fancy. It's a 10-metre drop. It takes this team a whole day to remove and replace just 2 beams. Oh, blimey, I see what you mean.
Might get a bit stiff, that one.
It's harder work, this. And with their weight and the way they have to get them on and off the pier, I can see why. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Hey! Now they need to prep for its replacement.
I'm just cleaning up this pile cap, ready to accept the new piece of steel.
This structural work is just one part of the pier's facelift. The goal is to increase visitor numbers from 340,000 to 1 million a year. So where does the Thames feature in those grand plans? Do you think it might be possible to recapture that Victorian thing when people actually came to Southend by boat and their first approach was from the boat walking down the pier?
That's our aim, that the pier is not just an attraction for people to be coming onto from the shoreside, but reinstating a service that links London to Southend by boat, but equally Southend across to the Medway and bringing people across from both directions.
That is music to my ears. Don't drop it. Next, a new idea on the Thames I'm not so sure about. I don't want to upset you, but my memory of this part of the Thames is that it was like the worst pub toilet ever. Oh! The Thames has always inspired people to be bold, daring and dream big. And one of its greatest success stories lies in London's East End, by the biggest meander of the river. Here, a leap of faith gave birth to some of the city's most recognisable landmarks. This cluster of skyscrapers by the side of the Thames is Canary Wharf. It's the epicentre of the capital's financial district and home to some of the world's biggest banks. But until the late 1980s, none of this existed at all. What did exist was one of the busiest docks in the world. It was established in 1855, and here hordes of workers unloaded masses of imported tobacco, meat, fruit and veg. My first job was here, delivering food and drink to the crews as a ship's victualler. When I used to work down here in the 1960s, this was all Docklands. There were huge warehouses and big ships and millions of tons of cargo. And now all that's left of those times in this landscape are those two cranes, a memorial of long-forgotten times. Modern container ships led to the demise of these docks. The water here wasn't deep enough for them, so cargo trade moved to Tilbury in Essex. When the docks closed down in the 80s, unemployment rocketed and the area became a byword for poverty and crime. To tidy the place up, Thatcher's government set up the London Docklands Development Corporation, hoping to attract businesses through tax breaks. Let's be clear, the notion that big banks and huge companies would move to the East End seemed absolutely laughable. Those kinds of organisations always gravitated to the west. The east of London was associated with market stalls and dodgy geezers, and yet it happened. Canadian property tycoon Paul Reichman saw what others couldn't. He gambled his family fortune and bought his spot on the Thames. In 1991, in the place where fruit and veg from the Canary Islands were once unloaded, Canary Wharf was born. And the very first building to be completed was that one, 1 Canada Square, which was at that time the tallest building in London. Now, this area employs more people than used to work down the docks. Except instead of them being stevedores working for a pittance, most of them are bankers with Porsches and second homes in the Cotswolds. But the regeneration of this part of the Thames hasn't stopped at skyscrapers. For over 100 years, industry had treated the docks as one big bottomless dustbin, and it needed a clean-up. The year is 1975. I'm just starting my adult acting career, and I'm stood here in the King George V dock when I'm pushed into the water by none other than John Wayne in the film Brannigan. And to this day, I can remember that experience. A Chinese meat ship was cleaning out its hold somewhere over there, and all the juices were running into the water. There was vermin skittering around all over the place. There was Lord knows what bobbing around in the water. But it wasn't just what the Thames looked like at that moment. In the 1950s, the Natural History Museum had declared the river environmentally dead, which wasn't exactly London's finest hour. My dramatic plunge into the Thames didn't exactly kill me. There we go. But I can't say I'm itching to jump in again. Nevertheless, Dockmaster Miles Cole assures me it's now perfectly safe to do. I don't want to upset you, but my memory of this part of the Thames is that it was like the worst pub toilet ever.
It's actually absolutely teeming with fish, such as sea bass. Actually, we need to take a few bass out because they're so big now.
How did it manage to turn itself around?
The Docklands themselves were very, very busy with industry. When that died off, we started to see a turnaround anyway in the quality of water.
The 1980s also saw strict rules come into place. Waste could no longer be dumped in the river, giving the Thames the chance to clean itself up.
People love jumping in here, swimming about, swallowing the water. Everyone seems to be okay.
But it's not left to chance. An independent body checks the water here every month. You work for another company? Testing it today is Mark. And what is it that you actually do here?
Well, it's pretty high-tech.
That's really high-tech, isn't it?
There's not much to it. So we're testing for total coliforms.
What?
So basically sewage waste.
Is that it, or do you use any other high-tech kit?
We've got a water quality probe. That's a bit more high-tech. We just lower that into the water column. It's got a few sensors in there. That would talk to the app on my phone here.
Yeah. What's that going to tell you about?
pH, dissolved oxygen, electrical conductivity, total dissolved solids. All are important for determining water quality.
And do you ever find that the levels are unacceptable?
Rarely.
It's extraordinary, but this river has literally come back from the dead. The water in the docks here is now so clean, it regularly meets EU bathing water standards. And that sparked a brainwave. This is so weird. I'm in the middle of East London. Over there is the XL Centre. There is the Docklands Light Railway. Above me, there's a cable car. And there is a little beach and what looks like Club Tropicana. John Byrne's been growing his Hawaiian-themed water sports oasis here for the last 3 years, where cool people like me can hang out. John, I think I'm in a dream. What's going on here?
Well, I can assure you you're not. You're in the Royal Victoria Dock and you're at Wake Up Docklands.
You're like in a little cul-de-sac off the Thames, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, we're pretty lucky to be able to operate down here, yeah.
Do you get a lot of business people coming here after work?
Loads and loads and loads, yeah. So a lot of our clientele come from either the city or Canary Wharf. After work, you know, after they take their suits off, they come down here. It's a great facility for people to kind of reconnect from their busy London lives and enjoy the water sports, yeah. And John's got a class for me. You do know I'm completely inept at anything physical. I don't believe that in the slightest, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, blimey. What have I signed up for? Sarah, this is ridiculous that we're doing this right in the heart of the East End.
I'm going to give you a paddle as well.
Thank you.
There you go.
Apparently, this is paddleboarding. So you've done this before?
I've done it a couple of times. Yeah, a few times.
How about you?
A few times as well, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
I, of course, have never done it.
You get on the board with your knees. Now hold the paddle on the right side. Really dig the entire blade in the water and start to paddle. Try to paddle on the other side so you come towards me. Try to come a bit more this way.
I'm trying to.
Just put one foot next to the handle and then the other one. And then you want to look up. If you look down, like on a bicycle, that's when you get a bit wobbly. So you just want to look up, hold the T, and start paddling. It might feel a bit awkward at the beginning, but just give it a go. Try to look up, not look down. Yes, there you go. Yay! Brilliant! And now start paddling.
I'm standing, and I'm determined to keep standing. All right, I know how clean the Thames is now, but I really don't want to taste it again. Just look straight ahead and keep my arms straight, hand on the top. Oh, I'm going too far that way. Oh. I'm not sure if my knees are wobbly or whether it's just a little bit of wake.
No.
But there's certainly movement down below somewhere.
That looks really good. I'm not kidding.
You shouldn't have said that, Sarah.
Can we get your paddle?
This was the moment I'd been trying to avoid all day. But do you know what? And it tastes fine. Just a bit salty. It's taken some maverick spirit, but the transformation of London's Docklands has really blown me away. Wow, we're zooming along.
Yeah.
100 people every day do water sports here, and it's easy to see why. It's calm, uncrowded, quiet, clean, a real juxtaposition to London. Yet there my city is.
It's a fantastic view this way, isn't it?
It is.
The man-made shore's approaching now, so it's back to reality for me. And like everyone else who comes here for some R&R, back to the day job too.
I've been round the Thames, under the Thames, over the Thames. Now I've been in the Thames. Oh, that was good. I forgot I'd got this on.
Next, I discover some weird and wonderful erections on the Thames.
They do look sci-fi, don't they?
And my mishaps continue. The River Thames has always inspired people to think outside the box, which is how the river's estuary in Southend ended up with the longest pleasure pier in the world. At one time, though, this pier wasn't used for pleasure at all.
It's hard to imagine now, but back in the Second World War, this whole place was closed to the public, and the Navy took the pier over and rechristened it HMS Lee. It had two functions. One was to be a focal point for naval convoys, and the other was to be the naval control centre for the whole of the Thames estuary.
Out in the estuary, there's more evidence of the area's military past. And the best way to see it?
Hello, Richard. Hello, Tony.
Hop on a boat. I've come aboard Richard Bain's historical sightseeing cruise to see some wartime relics in the Thames.
We're passing now the Phoenix unit, which was part of the Mulberry Harbour project during the D-Day landings.
These were sort of artificial harbours which we drag over with us.
Yeah, so the idea was that we would create this artificial harbour just off of the Normandy beach, so our landing craft could get onto the beach.
So presumably this one didn't make it?
No, it didn't, no. It started taking on water whilst it was being towed down the east coast. So the closest point of refuge was to pop into the Thames to effect some repairs.
Yeah.
Wasn't really successful, and it ended up snapping in two.
How come it's still here after all these years?
There wasn't really much point taking it away. There was no pollution, I suppose, coming from it. It didn't have anything in it apart from just concrete.
That's a real piece of history now, isn't it?
The Phoenix may have ended up here by chance, but the next wartime invention on Richard's tour was purposely positioned on the Thames estuary right where it meets the North Sea.
I can see the forts in the distance. They're just on the horizon.
We're now about 9 miles out, and it's one of the most surreal sights I've ever seen.
They do look like something from War of the Worlds.
I feel like I'm in a movie, but there they are on the Thames.
These are the Red Sands forts. I've known about them for donkey's years, but I've never actually seen them before. They're called Maunsell forts because they were designed by Guy Maunsell, and they were part of our defences in the Second World War to defend the mouths of rivers and to shoot down the Luftwaffe. They do look sci-fi, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Something about them is very, very scary. What would have been the function of the different forts?
The one set slightly away from the rest of them, this would have been the searchlight tower, looking for the Luftwaffe. Whilst the one to our right now, which you can see has got like two balconies sticking off the top.
Yeah.
That's what we call the Bofors Tower, and that would have had two anti-aircraft guns.
Bofors guns, yeah.
The main fort round the centre, they would have been the main accommodation.
So how would people have got from one to another?
It was gantries that reached from each tower to the other. I mean, there would have been 180 men out here serving these forts during the Second World War.
They must have gone off their minds, mustn't they?
Would have been very isolated for certain.
Soldiers were stationed here for 6 weeks at a time to protect the Port of London and stop the Germans destroying our supply ships, after over 100 were sunk in the Thames estuary during the first few months of the war.
It's like an amazing feat of imagination somehow, isn't it? They're not like anything else. Someone must have said, I know, I'll design 7 monster towers in the middle of the Thames Estuary on 4 extended legs. And someone at the Ministry of War must have thought, oh yeah, that's a very good idea, and just signed it off. How were they made, do we know?
They were floated out from Gravesend. They had 2 barges strapped either side of the legs, like a catamaran, and they were towed out and then lowered slowly down onto the sands.
It's madness, sheer madness.
But they did their job. From here, 22 German planes and 30 doodlebugs were shot down. And that's not all. 20 years after we won the war, these towers got a new lease of life as a pirate radio station.
It was started by screaming Lord Such, and it was called Radio Such, and it had a load of names, I think, over the years. I remember it was called Radio Invicta at one time, and the government couldn't touch it because it was in offshore waters. So apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but everyone believes it to have been true, the government dumped a load of sand out in the water, stuck a flag on it and said, this is part of Britain, and if that's part of Britain, then they're part of Britain, and so we've got the right to close you down. And they did.
Pirate radio stations like this were how we kids were introduced to the great new music of the 60s. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful to them. Before we head back, Richard's got one final relic to show me. It's in the estuary's mouth, 1.5 miles from the shore of Sheerness.
That looks eerie, doesn't it?
Yeah, the SS Richard Montgomery.
Monty was a ship belonging to our American allies. On the 20th of August 1944, while waiting to join a convoy across the Channel to France, stormy weather caused her to drag anchor in the estuary's shallow waters, and she foundered on a sandbank.
As the tide fell, ended up breaking her back and snapping in two.
She's the most monitored wreck in the UK, and for good reason. When she beached, she was carrying 6,000 tons of explosives, and 1,400 remain in her holds today. It's been predicted that if they went off, it would trigger a tsunami on the Thames.
Suppose it did all go woomph. What would the impact be like?
Some people say that it would send a 5-metre high wave up the River Thames towards the Thames barrier. They are expecting to take the masts off soon.
Oh, really?
Because the ship is deteriorating now. Yeah. The masts now could topple and set off in a potential explosion. So there is a contract out by the Ministry of Defence now to save that from happening.
I wouldn't want to do that job, would you?
Not really, no.
I've never seen this part of the Thames before, and it's been fascinating. Its tides and sandbanks may have proved perilous for some, but the pier is an absolute inspiration. And there's more inspired ideas to be found along the river. So I'm leaving Southend behind and heading almost 100 miles upstream, where the Thames flows through leafy Buckinghamshire. This is the Chiltern Hills. I'm a mile inland now, but the ground I'm walking on was once the Thames riverbed. Over thousands of years, the river receded, but the gravelly land it left behind gave one ambitious couple a novel idea. Take the French on at their own game and build a vineyard, which grows the same variety of grapes used in champagne.
I've got to admit, when it first came out in the 1980s, I developed a bit of a prejudice against English wine. I thought most of it was pretty anemic and dull. Be interesting to find out whether it's developed much since then.
The one clear advantage the French have over us is their sunnier climate. So to find out how this winery successfully grows 16 acres of vines in our weather, I'm lending vineyard manager Matt a hand.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Tony.
Harvest happens in September. I'm here in July, but there's still plenty of work to be done.
So the tops, as you can see, are about to fall over because the vine's a lazy plant.
Yeah.
So we just need to give it a helping hand to grow upright and pin it between these two wires.
Yeah. It's not the greatest job for someone who's 5 and 4.5. How long have you been working here, Matt?
Coming up to, 2.5 years now.
What are the hours like?
Weather dependent. At the moment it's too windy to spray, but it won't be at night, so I'll go out and spray at night. And it's just reacting to the weather constantly.
Frost must be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, frost is definitely a problem at the start of the season. It can ruin your crop before it's even got going. We put bougies out, which is the paraffin wax.
Yeah.
Which burn for about 6 hours, and we put 1,600 of them out, and that will bring our temperature up by 3 degrees.
Huh.
There was a lot of sleepless nights. We were up here early hours of the morning this year, but we saved it. It's a labour of love, that's for sure. We've got a clip there, Tony.
Oh.
It's all right, I got it.
He's hard to please. All vines clipped, the next job is a grapevine haircut, which allows sunlight to reach the fruit to help it ripen. And Matt, of course, is very clear on how he wants it done. Right, what's happening?
So you've got to try and make these hairy rows look as pretty as these rows.
Right.
Without crashing the tractor, wrecking my vine trimmer, wrecking my vines, my trellising. If you want to hop in.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
Right.
Just to your right there,
Yeah.
you flick that back, that will engage the blades on the trimmer.
Here's the ignition. Touching first. Ignition. Let's turn this old cutter on. It's going, and oh god, the clutch is a nightmare. Still, with over 50 years of driving experience. Oh yeah, I'm trimming something up. Here we go. Here we go. Getting the hang of it. So far, so good. You get these moments where you get completely blinded by the tumbling bits of vine. But just as I'm getting into my stride...
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Take the blades off for a second in case we get decapitated.
Okay. I thought I was going to be able to leap out in triumph, and just the last 3 yards it all went haywire.
Oh well.
Let that be a lesson to you, never be overconfident.
We'll give you the dead vine as a token to take home.
Is there a dead vine?
Yeah. Well, it might live. We might be all right. We can prune that again next year.
I think it needed pruning.
Yeah, I'll take a note of it and we'll call it Tony's vine from now on.
In a usual year, when I'm not around wrecking it, this vineyard yields about 40,000 bottles of sparkling wine. It's been going for 10 years, and it's the brainchild of Henry Laithwaite and his wife Kay. It is so lovely round here, but it doesn't seem a very appropriate place for a vineyard.
Au contraire, Tony. I think it's perfect.
Henry's no stranger to the industry. His father founded Laithwaite's Wine Merchants 50 years ago. But instead of selling other people's wines, Henry wanted to produce his own, and believed this was the best place to do it. And he called it Harrow and Hope. Why would it be good here?
Really, it's the effect of the Thames and the sort of gravel and stones that it left behind.
What's so good about gravel and stones? It sounds like a nightmare to me.
Well, it is.
It's a nightmare to cultivate, a nightmare to work.
It's where the name comes from, Harrow and Hope. Harrow is to cultivate the soil, and Hope is to hope you don't break anything. But the big advantages for the vines is the drainage. You know, water just disappears here, and also the heat. The stones this time of day heat up, and then they re-radiate the heat at night, so you can get almost an extra degree of temperature around the vine during the day, which helps with ripeness.
The level of care these vines need is unreal, and this year even more so, as Henry and Kay have decided to go organic.
Have you found that it's much harder being organic than not?
It's more stressful. I think as the years go by, we'll get more confident, but ultimately for us, we truly believe it will make the wine taste better.
Henry and Kay have worked so hard getting this place off the ground, and it must have been particularly difficult given the stony terrain and the weather and going organic. But I'm going to have a little taste now, so it'd be interesting to see whether all their hard work has paid off. I've been working for you all day. My hands are raw, practically bleeding. I think I deserve a taste, don't you?
But you do.
Right. Let's see if all my prejudices are justified. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's lovely. It is so full of taste.
Phew!
I really wasn't expecting it to be this tasty.
Thank you very much.
Really lovely. I was going to say, I can taste the Thames, but that would be a bit insulting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we try and move away.
Yeah, that's not a good slogan,
Indirectly.
is it?
Indirectly, yeah.
Indirectly.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Henry and Kay have turned land shaped by the Thames into a huge success. And next, I get whiff of another great idea.
Why am I doing this?
I've been looking at how the Thames has inspired people to reimagine and innovate. And I'm ending my journey in Waterhay in Wiltshire, just a few miles from the river's source. Here, the Thames runs through fields, pastures and meadows, used as agricultural land for centuries. But in the last few years, it's felt the effects of climate change.
I'll see if I can catch the calf.
She's tiny. Gotcha.
This has prompted one man to farm his cows in a new, more environmentally friendly way.
Are we supposed to be going down here?
We're way off.
In fact, Andy Rummings is on a mission to decarbonise his farm with the help of the Thames.
Come on, little one. Where's the Thames from here?
Well, the Thames is actually just in front of you over here. So at the moment, it's got an awful lot of reeds in it, not a lot of open water.
So given how flat this all is, presumably it floods here in the winter?
It does. The whole of this end of the field floods extensively.
Historically, farmers loved the occasional flood, as the silt in the river fertilised their fields. Way back in 1086, the Domesday Book even listed floodplains as the most highly valued land in England because of their silt-rich soil. But nowadays, floods are more common, and last winter's torrential rain turned Andy's pastures into a metre-deep boating lake, trapping calves and destroying their food.
Because it was flooded for so long this winter, it sort of repressed the grass growth. The experts are telling us that we're going to get longer dry spells and probably heavier wet spells. And so we've got to think about that and work out how we can be more resilient to those.
Andy's family have been farming on the banks of the River Thames for over 60 years, so he's determined to rise to the challenge.
Come on, cows! Come on, cows!
Is that the way you're supposed to do it?
Yeah.
Come on, cows! Come on, my darlings!
He's found a way for his farm to not only survive, but thrive, turning the floods into something positive.
A bit faster than that, come on! Come on!
He realised once the flood water subsided, his land was left rich with plant and animal life, and he's begun to take full advantage of it.
A lot of cattle farmers would just open the gate and let their cattle go into a whole field and leave them there for weeks. But we move them every day to a new patch of grass.
That seems an enormous amount of work.
It is.
Sorry, I just got felt up by a cow mid-interview. But anyway, yeah, it does seem like a lot.
It is, but we're trying to improve our soils. So the idea is that they have one day's grazing, they then move on, and that ground gets a chance to recover.
And is now relying on nature alone to fertilise his fields. And fresh grass every day means he doesn't need to supplement his cow's diet with grains either. To show me just how healthy that is, he's very kindly invited me to delve into some 3-day-old cow poo. Oh, it's like peeling the top off a chocolate cake, isn't it?
What we're really interested in here is that you've got dung beetles. Right, there's one.
Hey, okay. Yeah, little fella, yeah.
Look at him. They are really important in the fact that they break that cowpat down. And if they break it down effectively, you get a lot higher number of worms directly underneath it.
The more worms, the better, stronger and healthier the soil. And this dung has other advantages too.
It doesn't really smell.
No, it really doesn't smell, does it? Doesn't smell at all here. No.
And that's because they're eating a much more natural diet. They're not pumped full of protein and energy.
Why am I doing this? Hang on, get really low. Oh, yeah, there, yeah. There. That's the smell gap. It's inspiring to get a whiff of Andy's sustainable approach, but for some, an environmentalist beef farmer is, well, a bit of a contradiction. I know you're passionate about the environment, so should you really be farming cattle for beef?
We're in a species-rich field here, so the best thing is actually to use it with a ruminant animal as your tool to harvest that grass, give it a rest period, and let that biodiversity flourish.
How would you define this kind of farming?
I'd call it regenerative, going almost beyond organic. You're trying to use your cows as a tool to actually improve the environment, to actually improve the health of the cows, to improve the food value of the beef at the end of it. So you're trying to regenerate your farm.
Are many people doing this?
It's a growing movement, which is great. And I think we might be on a cusp of something really exciting.
I thought that farming around here would be a nightmare because of its proximity to the Thames. But in fact, I've found that Andy has really welcomed the challenge, which means that hopefully he and his family will be able to farm around here for many years to come. Next time, I go behind the scenes of London's £4 billion super sewer. It looks like the bowels of hell in here. Undergo an assault on the senses. Jesus, that is so disgusting. As I get closer to the river than ever before. I've just wet my trousers. I don't think it was excitement either. And I meet the team keeping London's water flowing. You got here so quickly.
Because of the amount of water that is being wasted.